Oh my god. All right, Godot update. What have I been doing? A lot of the work that I've been doing has just been refactoring old code to fit into component structure. So all of the player movement is now in component structure. There's a lot of other stuff that is just components now. It makes it much easier to test things in an isolated way. I can delete any of these from the player and it should still work, ideally. Um, Okay, but let's look at some of the actual changes that I have made. All right, I'm gonna have to make this bigger in post because my laptop cannot run the game at full resolution. Anyway, um, so we still have the play button, we still have the level select button, and when I play, you can see I load into the level. A little bit of spoilers. We have a gun, but first I want to talk about the escape menu. Now you can hit escape to pause and unpause the game. It does actually pause. And from there, you can select your level, and you can just reload the same level to respawn. Um, Eventually, when you fall off the level, it should, like Minecraft, it should trigger your death, and you would respawn back up there. But for now, we just have this. Um, you can switch levels pretty nice and easy. Whoops. Um, yeah, so we have that. Another thing that you may have noticed is the speedometer in the top right. And this thing, that's all it does. It keeps track of your speed. It's pretty fun because it kind of gives you more feedback on what you're doing, maybe right or wrong. Like, oh my goodness. Let's see. Okay, yeah, when I do that super bounce, you can see my speed goes up, as you would expect. So, the last thing that I have implemented is a gun framework. And right now, these red lines are just kind of for debug purposes. Ideally, they'd be replaced by some other more clear and less jarring visual indicator, but that is for later. Um, yeah, let's talk about the gun system because it is not just as simple as this shotgun that I have built. It is a whole organization of a system, and you can modify different parts of the gun and create guns pretty easily, and they can have different stats. They can have different projectiles. They have like you can right now only the hit scan is implemented. That is still to come, but there's different weapon types and what else? What else have I written down here? Okay, yeah. So the actual gun component that the player has, it keeps track of two things primarily. One of those things is the gun data, and the other thing is the gun model. So what to render, and then also where to keep track of its stats. Um, which is really nice because it means you can test the guns without having to have a model, and it will still function. It just will be invisible. Um, the gun data, it keeps track of its stats, so the fire rate, etc. Um, what else did I write down? Yeah, stats type and payload behavior. I call it payload. Ideally, it would be what happens when the bullet actually gets a hit, either on an enemy or on whatever. In the future, hopefully, I'll be able to define custom behavior so that each gun can kind of be different and unique. Um, or if it's something like an explosive, it'll create an explosion around where it lands. If it's a sniper, maybe it has some amount of punch through so that it can go through objects or enemies, um, etc. You can imagine like a kind of like Borderlands type. Pimpernel creates more projectiles when it lands. Unkempt Herald creates more projectiles as it's flying, stuff like that. Um, yeah, so that's enough about the gun data. The gun model then handles the visual elements. It uses a socket, so you can see my hand kind of down in the bottom right. That's where the gun will render. which is pretty nice because it means that whoever's, fiddling around with the gun doesn't really have to worry about where it's rendering because that's up to whoever's moving the hand around. Um, yeah, and the gun model also handles the tracer rounds. I think I mentioned that, and it also handles the recoil, which is not really working as expected. Maybe you can see the gun kind of jiggling, but yeah, that's about all I have implemented so far. Thank you for watching.